All right, so this is a high-level overview of our content availability group in SQL Server 2022. So in this particular example or this particular video, I'm not going to be doing demo per se, because that not much of a big deal, but I'm going to talk about the demo, but I'm not going to do the demo live. So uh, on my server, I have configured the content availability group already. So um, I'm gonna explain the demo to let you know what has been done, where we are. But primarily, what this part 2 of the overview is to do is basically to show us the different example, the different scenarios, the different changes when you flip from this scenario to that scenario. What happened if you create this login here and don't create this login the other way? Can this login that you created here, can you access that? Can you access your content availability group from the other replica? If you create a job on one replica, can you access that job from the other replica? If you create something using the listener, what is the limit of the login permission that you use in creating something outside of the content availability group, and vice versa? When I say vice versa, uh, with the well, versus when you do it on the external server. Remember in my example, in my previous conversation on this topic, I said, see your main server. As you can see my screen, whatever server that is your main, not the content server, see that as an external, and see the content part of things as your internal server, or you can refer to it as your content availability group or content server. So we will just play around practically, not what is written in Microsoft document. Practically, we will be doing stuff and getting to see what is possible, what is not possible. And when I create one thing from content availability group, am I able to see that thing on my external server? When I create something on my external server, does that thing get created within my content availability group automatically, or do I have to do the manual effort? And if I'm going to do a manual effort, okay, so what is the whole point of setting up content availability group? Because what Microsoft is telling us is, hey, um, your content on SID issue, when you have the traditional availability group and you create, let's say you fail over, or you create a particular user or login on the primary replica for some reason, that particular login need to exist on the secondary. And for that to happen, you need to do, the normal to be able to create the same login on the primary and your secondary using the SID number of that same login on the primary to create it, so that it will be able to, at that point, it wouldn't matter which of your replica is the primary, whichever one, it's the same login because it has the same DNA. See the SID as a DNA of your login. So, whichever replica is the primary, it doesn't matter to that login because it is the same DNA that created the login on server A, is the same login that is the same DNA is used to create or build the same login on the replica or the server B. So they said that to us, Microsoft, I mean. They also said, hey, job migration, link servers, alert, things like that. Most server level objects, you will not have to deal with that. So my understanding of what Microsoft is saying is those server level objects that when you create them within the content availability group server. You don't have to do the manual work to get those things across to the secondary replica. Now, when you have the content availability group created, and then create the listener for the content availability group. So going forward, if your mindset is to connect to your content availability group that you've isolated out from your main external server, you must make that connection using the listener. So from that moment going forward, whatever you do, if you want whatever you want to do to be associated with the content and reflect on both the primary of the content and the secondary of the content, you have to do it within the content connection. Your authentication and connection to the server to perform these changes, create this job, create the login, create the link server, create the alert, whatever you do it in the context of your connection using the listener. It is only the listener that guarantees your connection to the content availability group, not connecting as as availability server one, or sorry, content availability server one or content availability server two. When you collect two directly to content availability server one or content availability server two, that connection at that point, whatever you do in there, you are on your own. Whatever you create will be created, but it will not be binding, keyword binding to the content availability group. But whatever you've created is created. Now, when you connect, your application connect using the listener that makes them to hook up to the availability, content availability group, sorry, that connection is guaranteed if you make that connection with the listener to be that you've connected to content availability group, and whatever you do there cut across. So you don't need to manually do SID. You don't need to manually copy, script your link server that you've created within the context of the content availability group connection using the listener. You don't need to script it. It cut across. But if you flip over, create the same listener on your on your primary main external server, it's not just going to automatically reflect on the secondary, right? But if you do it within the content availability group, it reflects. That's just how it works. You create a login within the context of the content availability group. You can do your business between the primary and the secondary using that login, right? But if you go create that same login on the external server, by the time you bring that login to try to connect, we do your business within the context of the content availability group, using the listener, that login is not going to work. It is not in sync. You have to manually make it sync. I hope that makes sense. So that is what Microsoft promised. So let's see practically how this works. So let's go to work. So now, right here, this server says AG Container 1. AG Container 1 is my main external server. And this my main external server is my primary replica for the content availability group. Now, when I say the primary replica, as far as the starting point, so this is where I created the content availability group from. So that makes this guy the listener, the primary. And the AG container 2 is my secondary replica to this primary replica. So I started my configuration here. And to configure content availability group, all I did, this is my content AG here. All I did, this is it. And right here, everything on that, let me close this. See, this is distributed AG. We're not talking about this guy. We're talking about this guy. This is the traditional availability group that you know. always on availability group is this one. This one is also availability group, but it is the contain AG, which is the star of the moment. And this other guy is also availability group, but it is a distributed availability group. I don't want to go into this. What is the difference between this guy and this guy? I mean, if I want to divert into that, I will be on a different journey. So this is where I created this content database. So within this content data availability group, sorry, you expand this guy. See, everything here it has its own availability replica, just the way this traditional AG will have. So if I expand this traditional AG, it has its own replica. And what are the replicas? See, it is the AG container 1 and AG container 2, which is this guy. Now, this is the interesting thing. On one server, it is a primary for one configuration, and is all the same server is also a primary for another configuration, and the same server is also the primary for another configuration. That's just how it works. But in the case of this third guy does not operate independently. The life of this distributed availability group depends on the main availability group and of this primary and the main availability group of this secondary. Now, the distributed AG is more like the errand boy. Is not an independent mindset as this guy. Errand boy in the sense that, like I said, this guy depends on this main guy and the replica of that main guy, which is this guy. So how is this guy an errand boy? He doesn't have a life of its own. So this guy sits here and make the handshake possible between this guy and this guy and other servers that are part of the distributed availability group. So see this, even though I'm connected with a different user, see this as a different server, even though it says AG container 1 and contain AGL, which is the replica. So just to drive down my point, right, guys? I mean, you guys are smart. You know what I'm saying? So just consider this guy the main primary. Consider this guy the secondary for this guy, and consider this guy as the third server. Consider this guy as server number 4. Okay, that's it. So this guy, I'm talking distributed now before we jump in. This guy is your traditional AG. Now, you now introduce this guy into the picture. When you introduce this guy takes order from this AG and deliver the order to this AG, and also deliver the order to this AG, this guy here, and deliver the order to the last server. Now, in the context of distributed, this guy is the global primary, keyword global. This guy is the Washington, DC, the Tokyo, right? The whatever state capital of this AG country. Now, this guy is more like the state capital. This guy is a local county, and this guy is a local county. But in the context of the AG, distributed AG, while this guy is a global primary, this guy is the secondary replica for the global primary. Now, this guy is also a primary, but his own primary is not an independent primary. It is called forwarder, even though it's a primary, right? But he is not giving the title with full authority that you are the primary, just the way this guy is. This guy is a primary, but it is called forwarder. Why is it called forwarder? Like going forward, forwarder. Because he's going to forward the data that he received from this headquarter, which is a global primary. He's going to receive the data from that global primary. He will receive it. But because he is under the authority of this guy, only this guy can answer the name primary, global primary. And this guy is this secondary replica to the global primary. But this guy is on a different Windows Server failover cluster. This is failover cluster 1, This guy is under failover cluster 1. This guy is failover cluster 2. And this guy is under failover cluster 2. So the business of distributed AG is between one failover cluster to another failover cluster to another failover cluster, and so on and so good, and so forth. Sorry. Okay. So this guy is a forwarder. He receives information from here. He takes it as the forwarder and give it to its own replica. This guy knows this is his primary. This guy, even though he is aware this is also a primary, but this is a direct cousin, the direct cousin of this primary. Even because this AG stays under this guy, it remains forwarder, even though logically speaking is a primary because he's on a different Windows server failover cluster, right? With a different IP, but on the same domain. Let's say your domain is ag.com. So they all belongs to ag.com. This one belongs to ag.com, all of them ag.com. But you can also configure it for cross-domain. That's a different discussion. So a forwarder, which is a primary, but the primariness of this guy is silent because of the presence of this guy. So because it's a forwarder and this is a secondary for this guy. Now, you can configure another set of Windows Server cluster and configure it in such that this guy becomes a global primary. So he becomes the senior global to another set of Windows Server failover cluster. And you can keep rotating that for as long as you want. So in the end, the main original source data is from here. You can spin the data that is from here to 25 others replicas, literally. I'm not even kidding. So when the relay start from here, it gives to this guy, and this guy takes it, gives to this guy. This guy now becomes a global primary, right? So a different window failover cluster will be created. Now, the two primary and secondary of the next window failover cluster will become the forwarder to its own secondary replica, and the cycle continues. So that's it. Let's go back to the business of the day. So content availability group. So I close that guy, and this is where we are. So we created the content availability group under this guy. The moment the content availability group is created, you can see the content availability group is independent. It has its own replica. Let's see it. Don't take my word for it. The same AJ container one, primary, secondary, which is this guy. Now, it has its own databases folder, just like what you're familiar with. See, these are the databases. And here is something different. If you watch my part 1 of this video, I told you when you are creating the content availability group, by default, a master database and MSDB database is created by default. And these two databases does not interrupt the business of these system databases that you are familiar with. They are still here, MSDB and master. This MSDB here that is created is within the walls, the magical world of the content availability group. So it has its own master and this. If you may ask, why? So that, remember what I was saying, when you connect using a listener to the content availability group, whatever you create stays within here. It cannot cross over to the main server. This is what is making that possible. So when you stay within, when you make connection to this guy and you create something, it stores your login here. It stores your job here. Whatever you manipulate that is supposed to be on the master database traditionally, it will stay within the master database of this your content availability group, within the MSDB of this your content availability group. So the master and the MSDB, which is created to do the magic of the content availability group, is also added just like a regular database on the AG. This adding was not done by me. It was done when I was creating the content availability group. So then it was added. Then this is the actual user database that I created. This is the actual user database that I created. Now, the prerequisite to add it to AG is the same as the prerequisite to add it when you're doing the traditional AG, meaning you take the full backup and the transaction log backup. The same thing, right? And it to be done. Let's say I want to create another AG. You know, sometimes in a traditional AG, you can have this AG for a different purpose. Then you want to create another AG. If you want to create another AG, by default, that another AG will want to create another master database. If you don't want that to be the case, which most cases you shouldn't, you can force your next AG to say, hey, reuse the master and the MSDB that I created for the first AG that I created. That is possible. And let me demonstrate that. So I'm going to go here and pretend as though I want to create content availability group. I say next. This is SQL Server 2022. I said second contain AG, right? Or let's just put a number. Contain AG2. Okay? This is what I'm referring to. Now, if you watch my previous video, I don't have to repeat it. So you have the option to use a Windows Server failover cluster that you know to sit your AG on it. That works, okay? And if you want to do and you can also do the clusterless. The moment you click on this none, it means you are doing a clusterless availability, content availability group. So you can do this and you can do this. And you can do external for other RDBMS, I believe. So for an external source that is not SQL, that option is also there. So, so the moment I pick on this, this is what makes it content availability group. The moment I check this box, by checking this box, is ready to create a master key and MSDB. But because I already have it done due to this AG, content AG that I've created, all I need to do is say reuse system databases. Once I click on this guy will be created, but it's going to maintain this same MSDB and master. I believe that makes sense. So that's the point I want to just make. I don't want to go further. And also another beautiful thing, so since we're talking the configuration at this point, when you create this content AG2 cluster type, Windows Server failover cluster, literally, I'm canceling it. It sits on your cluster. Let's go to my cluster failover cluster manager. See, this is my content right here. It's unbelievable, right? It's right here. It sits here. This is my main traditional AG. And this is my content AG. It has its own IP address. See the IP address here is a different IP address. So let's see the IP address of the other guy. See, it's 88. And on my content, it ends with 228. So you've seen that. So now that is out of the way. So once that is done, what else do I need to show you? So let's start looking into connecting using the listener and all of that. So this is a listener right here. This listener is for the content AG listener. My traditional always on has its own listener right here. Take a look at it. Don't take my words for it. It has its own listener. And this guy, my content availability group, which is this guy, has its own. Let me collapse some of this. Has its own listener. See, it's right here, content AG. And I have made the connection with the content AG listener, which is this guy with the administrator. This is a connection to the content AG, but as individual user. Let's say your name is Peter or Angela. So I made the connection as individual user. Sorry, not this one. This is the listener connection. But this user test content 3 is connecting to the listener using content connecting to the content database using the listener, which is the practice, the recommendation, right? And this is the main listener as a sysadmin, as the administrator. So what I can do connecting as to the listener using the sysadmin account or the account with the sysadmin permission is I can do anything here. But when you connect as individual user, there are so many features that you will not have. And what you can do when you are connected to the listener using the sysadmin permission is just like you are doing it on the main primary. Remember, when you create a login here, a job here, when you are connecting to this server is also associated with a content availability group. But whatever you do here has no business with this guy. If you wanted to have a business with this guy, you have to manually run it. You have to manually create it here, which is the whole point of this technology in the first place, so that we can stop the manual work. You want whatever you want to do to stay within the replicas associated with this content availability group, then connect to the listener of your content AG with your sysadmin permission and go ahead. Whatever you do in one, you don't need to go and do it on the other. They just make the connection automatically. You don't need to do anything. Sounds good, right? Amazing. So let's start doing those little example and see what probably Microsoft is not spending the time to babysit us to see all the scenario. So we're going to see those scenarios practically. I don't know anything, so let's find out together. So we are trying not to take Microsoft words for it. I got to take my coffee. There is no rule. I'm not ashamed to drink my coffee, people. You drink coffee, right? Okay, so let's continue. Now, so let's begin to dig into the example. So let me collab this guy. So this is the main, what is it for? Content availability connection. Now, so let me go to the listener of the content availability. So let's see what's going on here as far as the IP address. You see, this is the IP address I use for my listener and all that. So yeah, we all know that. So let's expand this guy. Let's keep it simple so that everywhere is not just open. So as now, this is Bertie connecting using the listener. What am I able to view when I'm connected using the listener? This is practical demo. You and I, we are seeing it right here together. So I'm connected. All I can see is this database that was added to my content AG and this database. Where are those master databases? The content DB underscore. You see these master databases? These guys here? Content AG. Where are they? Let me close some of the replicas. See, databases. Where are these guys here? And if you go to the actual databases folder of the main external primary, let's expand it. This is the traditional system databases that you know. Let's collapse this. But the sub masters, right, is here. See, is available here, is available here, and it shows synchronized because it is added to AG. So they are here, and the user database is here, and the other user database something solution is here. But when I'm connected to the actual listener as instructed, these guys are not in view. And I will show you another thing that is not in view. See, we're only seeing the actual. But trust me, whatever you do under this connection, it is being stored to these guys here, either login or anything that is supposed to be within master certificate creation in terms of transparent database encryption. All those objects that are supposed to be on your master database, they will stay here, even though you are here doing all the jobs, all the operation. It will be stored to the master. but you are not physically seeing the master here. Okay? All right. So we've learned something. Let's learn something else. If you notice, I'm connected as an admin to the listener. Have you noticed something? Look, there is no availability group folder. Uh-huh. See that? There is no availability group folder. And you go here, let's collapse this so that we'll keep it simple. See this? It is after replication. This is availability, always on high availability folder, which is where the configuration for AG are located. Is here after replication. So let's collapse this. See, when you come here, replication is here, but AG is not here. So it's more like what they do with Azure Managed Instance. Content availability group is in Azure Managed Instance, but we don't manage it. It's there. So see this as you connecting to Azure Managed Instance, but you are not seeing your AG. But this server is part of an AG, but you don't see it. You cannot manage it, but it is part of the SQL, Microsoft Microsoft is managing it for you. So in this context, this main server is playing us as though it is an Azure managed instance. So SQL Server is managing this AG that this guy is doing business with for us. So you can see there is no availability group folder. Another discovery. Okay. The fact that the availability group folder is not here doesn't mean it does not exist. Just like your managed instance, Microsoft is Azure is managing or Microsoft is managing your HA solution for you, even though you're not physically seeing it here, right? So right here is showing you the trick behind the scene, how uh, Microsoft is managing the infrastructure and all those important stuff on behalf of their client behind the scene. So the content availability group gives us that feel of a of the of the front end of how managed instance is, using this to be the back end, which only Microsoft engineers usually get to do. But in this case, I am playing the Microsoft backend engineer. I'm also playing the front end user. All right, so that makes sense. So let's begin to make things happen. So as a listener, right, let's expand the security. Let's see what we have. Let's go to logins. Now, remember on my first video, I said when you create AG, any login, that is what Microsoft told us. If anything is not correct, you're not going to come after me. You go after them. Except I didn't understand them well. But practically, based on what I have configured, this is it. So let's look at it together. So the instruction was at the point of configuration, whatever login, while you were doing the configuration here, that has a sysadmin, server level permission, sysadmin, those logins will automatically get moved here. Like all these guys, they have sysadmin. I believe so. They have some, you see, build it admin, all these guys, they have sysadmin. They got moved here. But any lower permission will not get moved. If you want it to exist within the content AG, you got to do that business right here within the content. And for it to work, you have to connect using the listener. So while connecting using the listener, then I created this guy, content 2, and sorry, content 3. And this is content 3. So before I expand the content 3 connection, let's go to another thing. Let's go to jobs. I'm connected using the listener. I am able to see SQL Server Agent. I can expand it. Let's see the jobs. We only have one job, content job. This job was created in the context of the content availability group. And I can see it. Now, let's see what other lower level users can see. Let's check the permission that this user has. server level 0 public. User mapping is only mapped to this database, not this other database that is part of the content AG, and it has only read only. Okay, so now this guy is created. Now I am that guy. I'm connected using the listener as that guy, the test content 3 guy. So let's expand it. Let's see what this guy can see. Obviously, there is no AG container folder, right? It does not exist after replication. If you notice something, look, there is no SQL Server agent folder. See this? Let me collapse this guy. This guy does not exist. See, it does not have it. See, integration services, integration service. After integration services is server agent. Connecting as this user, I don't have that permission to see something at that high level. But as the admin, I can see it. But as the admin, I can see the AG group. Learning something? 100%. I trust you are learning. So first catch. Second catch, no AG container. Third, let's go into the logins. See, for this guy, he's only seeing SA and itself. SA and itself. That's it. That's all. That's all he sees. But see what the sysadmin is able to see. He's able to see all the logins that was moved during creation. You can see everything, including this little guy. He created this little guy. So you're able to see all this. But this guy is only seeing this. We're learning something, right? So let's see things in action. So now I created this job as listener using listener connection. See this job here? Content job. Let's go to the main primary, the external primary, which is the control room, the managed instance of this configuration. Okay, let's go. So we go here, and so this is the main guy. This is the powerhouse. Expand this. Let's watch. Let's go straight to jobs. No BS. This is SQL Server Agent. We expand. Let's see the job. Remember the job? This job. Content job. Watch. Where is it? So watch here. It does not exist here. See? There's no content job here. If I refresh, does that make sense to you? The reason why if you want something to be available within the context of the content availability group, you must. It's not optional. You must connect as an administrator using the listener, and anything you create here stays here. So clearly, this job does not exist even in the main primary. That is how they are fine-tuned things. Fantastic job, if you ask me. See, it does not exist. Now, you see this job that I said outside content job, just to do the proof of concept. This job was created here from the main primary. This job right here. If I execute this job, it's going to run whatever that job is for. I just make up something, right? It runs successfully and it exists here. I created it. Now, if you go as this connection, that job, that job does not exist here clearly. As you can see, it does not exist. It does not exist, but it's available here. Does that make sense? Is someone learning something? Positive. So now, right in front of you guys. So let's do something. Let's create a job here. Let's say, sorry, not that. Let's create a job, say new job. And we call it in front of you job. Funny, right? Funny name. In front of you job. And we go into steps. And we say new steps. And we're just going to make things up. We said select, we just write any select statement, add version. That's it. The simple syntax to show a value. You pass it, it's correct. So that's the job. The name of this of the of the step. Show me. Mhm. Show me. I just call the step show me. So I'm just making it up. Okay. So we are done. Show me steps. And the name of the job is what we gave. So we are good. We're ready to, it's not scheduled. So we're not interested. We're just creating a job. The job is created in front of you. Job. See, it's done. I can execute this job right here in front of you. Yeah. So this job is not about success or failure. The job is created. That's not the point. So let's go to the main AG. I mean, the main content AG listener. So as always on, the way always on behaves, right? It's supposed to be on the other replicas. So which is not the case, which is the whole point of the AG. So let's go ahead and see this. So let's refresh the job. It does not exist here. It's not here. It's still what we have. Okay. So that point made. So let's stay here and create a job. They call it inside job, inside contain job. Okay. And we say steps, we say new, and we say the same thing. Select, add version. Okay. We know it's correct. And we said, oh, sorry. What did I do? Select, add version. Oh, sorry. Step name. Uh, inside cont contain. Okay, inside con, whatever. So we click OK and we click OK. So a job is created inside contain. And of course, I mean, running it is not part of the process, but it's okay. So it runs. So the point is the job exists here under this. So let's go to the primary. It's now 1-1. We created this guy and we couldn't find it there. So let's refresh. It's not there, it does not exist. See, in front of you. Test. This job inside container does not exist here. Okay, that makes sense? Good. So now, so so this guy is connected to using the listener and is able to see. So let's say the database is able to see. He's able to see this guy and he's able to see this guy. Remember, this user, content 3, was mapped to only this adventure work. So he's able to expand the adventure work even though he can see this solution database, but he cannot access because it was not mapped to that. But the good thing is he is able to see only the databases associated to the content availability group instance, right? Or AG. That is what. He's not able to see all these other databases. He's not able to see it. Just check that out. Now, so that is as a user. So I don't have to demonstrate the user is already, you're already seeing it. But just for me to do something right in front of you, and if you expand now with the main listener as the admin, so let's create one user within the content agent. So this connection now, so let's do login. Let's say show me now login. Okay, it's gonna be a SQL login. I'm gonna provide the password, my secret password. Okay, it's done. So it's a weird password, so don't enforce anything. We're not giving it a server um, level permission, just database level. This time we want it to have access to this other database. I want it to be able to read only. That's it. Okay? No server level permission, just map to a particular database. This one, not this one. That's it. We are done. Read only. That's it. We are done. And we are creating it under the listener admin. That's it. It's done. That guy is here. So if you flip back here, yeah, the main primary external server, you go to the this and go here. We don't have such login. Oh, you saw, oh, come on, Birdie, refresh it. You're playing on us. See, it's not here. There is no such. It does not exist. Remember the user? This is it. This is it. Show me now. With a weird name? Yeah. Show me now. It does not exist. It can't. So now let's connect as show me now. So let's connect as show me now. To if I want to connect to the main server, it's not even going to be able to connect because it's not there. So let's try it. Don't take my words for it. Let's connect to the AG one, which is the main server. I want to connect with SQL authentication. And I want to use the user show me now and the password. Okay, so let's connect. We all know it's not going to work, right? Of course, it shouldn't work because we didn't create it yet. So let's connect to the AG listener. Still show me now. And we put the password. So we are demonstrating all the scenarios. I have time for it. Okay, so let's connect. We're able to connect, right, to the AG. This is the beauty of it. It stays within the AG. Now, one of the biggest, there are so many use cases for content availability group. You have to be creative. But let me give you guys one creativity. Let's say you have an application that is by design must use a sysadmin. For example, an application for loan service within the banking system, right? Let's say Chase Bank or Wells Fargo or Bank of America. They have their loan system, mortgage, stuff like that. I'm just making that up. But what the gist is, that application must use a sysadmin permission. So let's see in action how content availability group can make things look uh, uh, make things look better or feels better with giving someone that is not a database engineer, a sysadmin, a permission for the sysadmin just because the application, for some weird reason, requires a sysadmin. If that happens, you don't need to worry. Just bring that application and restore that database within the content availability group happily, happily with a red carpet. Provide the sysadmin. You know what you've done to yourself? The sysadmin permission stays within here. You can even go as far as creating a different avail content availability group for that particular application and isolate it to that availability group and provide it sysadmin. That sysadmin permission, that application will not be able to come to your main primary server to do any business versus the way things are done right now. If you're not using SQL Server 2022, and even if you're using SQL Server 2022, you have not configured the, what is it called? The content availability group. So this is a fantastic uh, use case of content availability group. So that application with the sysadmin cannot come in here to do anything. We've seen that in action. If the sysadmin and the login was not created here, it's not going to work. So you will rest easy on your main server. And even that step further to even create a different AG just for that application. Because if you allow, let's say you have, let's say 10 different application databases here, and you grant one uh, application a sysadmin, that sysadmin permission can still do some mess, create some havoc around it. So you can go a step further. Go to your primary and create another availability group. You can use it on master. It doesn't matter. It's fine. The idea of asking you to reuse the system master, the content system master, is just so you don't have so many or too many master data and MSDB uh, databases littered all over the place. So you already have it, reuse it. So I'm just saying, if you want to go a step further, and if it is not cost intensive, I don't know anything about the costing in terms of that. Just go ahead, create a different AG, and don't reuse the system database. Let it have its own system database. Now, uh, the SQL Server is going to generate the naming convention based on the name of that availability group that you are creating specifically for that application. Let's say that application name is Bertie. It's going to be Bertie underscore master because Bertie is the name of the AG and Bertie underscore MSDB, right? So, and that's it. And you can happily provide the sysadmin and he's just gonna get stuck there. Use your sysadmin and blow yourself off while in there. Don't do that. Okay, so that's another beauty about how you can use content availability group. Fantastic, right? So now let's do one other thing. So let's create a link server at the level of the content availability group. Okay, right here. So let's close this guy. Go to just kill some of these guys to make space. Okay, so let's come here, go to server objects, link server. Right now we don't have any link server. I'm gonna click and say new link server. Proof name right. Okay, so I have a weird naming convention. Sorry, I'm just proof name. Okay, whatever. So sources. I want to use SQL Server, and I want to do security. I want to use using the security context of login. I want to do, what am I going to do? So I want to use which login am I going to use here? Okay, I'm going to use this login that I have for service account. I have a login like that, trust me, I do. So we go here, yep, and this login called service account. So once again, I'm trying to use, I can use SA, as a matter of fact, I can use SA. Let's keep it simple. Okay, I can use SA and password. Come on, bro. Password one. So it's done. Can we test connection? Where's it? Email. Yep, we're good. I believe, I believe, and I believe we are good. That's it. Yep. No, actually, I think I missed something. Oh, I did not add any. I did not add any. Say that. Yeah, there you go. Um, Cancel. Okay, I need to add a server. Local server login to remote login mapping. So let's go ahead and do this. What am I missing here? I'm missing something. Let's see. Login. Use this guy and something I'm missing. Mhm. Okay, so I want to demonstrate something using the link server associated with the content availability group. Um, I was getting something mixed up. So let's try to correct that. So let's see a scenario here. So instead of wasting our time, I have that created already. So right here, this is the listener for my external traditional always on. This is the AG listener. And on this AG listener, I created a link server. This link server is the link server associated to my content availability group, and and all the databases associated with a particular user, and that user only have access to this database. So I created a link server uh, on my main external server to be able to access. Yes, this guy is a different entity. I want this guy to be able to access one or two databases that is on my content database, because whatever happens here on that, whatever happened on my content availability group, this server does not have it, even though this server is my primary. And whatever happens here, my content availability group does not automatically have it. So what I've been able to, you remember when I said the content availability group is a blank check. You have to be creative to utilize, whatever it is that you can utilize or you can make out of the content availability group. If you want to go by the book, you just do whatever Microsoft told you. Yeah, you can do that. But if you think critically, you can leverage content availability group to um, to fix a lot of issues and get a lot done. So this guy is external. He doesn't have the databases that my content availability group server has. But with the help of a link server, you can sit here, create a link server from this server, from this external server, which is a primary of the content availability group. And this server will sit here and access any database of his choice that is within the content availability group without migrating that other availability databases here or creating it here, just the way link server normally work. But what is what is the lesson to be learned here? The lesson to be learned here is that when you are here and you create a link server to be able to access your content availability group from here, the link server that you create here does not automatically, just as with other things that I've said before now, appear on the content availability group server or any user that is linked or and mapped to the content availability group. So let me show us that in action, and the reverse. You create a link server from the content availability group to be able to access one or two databases from the main uh, primary instance, which is the external server for the content availability group. The link server you will be creating within the content availability group listener connection. Those link servers will automatically be available with any other user, any other login that was created or is mapped to the content availability group. And the reverse will not be the case if you create a link server from the external primary. So let's show us that. So this is the external primary which the content availability group was created from. As you can see, master content AG, master content AG, MSDB. And this database is part of the content AG, and this other database is part of the content AG. But that's not the point. The point is in the server object, under server object, link server. So we created a link server. As you can see, this is the name of the link of the, this is the name of the listener of the content availability group, which is the only legal, okay, not legal, the only legitimate authorized name for you to connect to be sure that you are in your content availability group. So the link server is created using this name. And when you expand the link server catalog, which is this guy, you will see the only database that the user that you use to authenticate for this link server have access to only this database. So if I go to this primary now and map the user that is used to make this connection and map that user to four more databases. Those four more databases sorry, those four databases will appear here, meaning that you can see more. So this one was created from here. So let's go and see a link server that was created from what is it called? From the um, content availability group. So here we are. This is a content availability group listener, but I'm this connection is using individual user. So I don't want to use this. I want to use the main sysadmin connection, which is this guy. So with this connection, I also created a link server here. This link server is using the name of the listener of the primary external server, which is the listener of this server. So if I expand the availability group, I don't want to expand too many things. So under, so this is using the name of this listener of the availability group. And so if you come here now, so, and the user that I'm using is have access to only this database, right? So that's why, so even at the level of link server, after creating the link server within the context of the uh, content availability group, check what's going on here now. So we created a link server. The link server comes with the master and the MSDB of the link server. That's how the behavior is when it comes with the content availability group. But in the traditional AG, which is the regular server, when we created the link server here, this link server did not add the content availability group to the catalog. It only add the databases that is required. So these are some of the things that is not in Microsoft documentation. They didn't spend time trying to show us all these use case scenario. So from the traditional AG, you create a link server, it just shows you within the catalog only the database that is associated with that login that you use to authenticate for the link server. But when you flip back to the content availability group server, which is this guy, the content, the link server created there is not just having the databases or the database that is associated with the user using authenticating. It brings in the master database and the MSDB, which is the concept of the content database, into the catalog. Again, that's just how it works. I'm doing it right in front of you guys. So that is what happened. So now here, if we go up and expand the databases that the user used to authenticate here is having access to, this is from the content server. So let's go to content server and map another database to the user used in authenticating. So let's see that user. We'll go to properties. We'll go to security. This is the user. Show me now user. Okay. So let's go to content availability group server and map another database to show me now user. Right now, show me now user is only having access to this database. So I want to map it since we have only two databases here. So I'm gonna go and do go to show me now and do properties. So I'm doing that at the uh, content availability group server level. So I go to mapping. Right now is here. I'm gonna add this guy. And I'm gonna say this guy should read. I'm gonna click OK. So I've extended it to one more database, and it's done. So two more databases now mapped to this user. So right now it's only this guy that is here. So let's refresh and see what am I doing now? Okay, from the content availability group, I created a link server for the listener of the main primary server. And I'm able to see what the user there can see. But what I just did now is not to show up here. Okay, let's see, because I'm testing everything right on the go. Okay, let's see what we have here. Okay, so what I did here, mapping the show me user to the other guy, is not going to show on this server. This listener belongs to this primary. So the changes that I made is not going to reflect here because this, the external primary server is using the power of the link server to access databases. Oh, sorry, this is, I get it confused. Let me go to the sysadmin connection. Let me go to the link server of the sysadmin connection, which is this one. So let me refresh that before I make that. So let's go to the catalog. Yeah, it remains the same. So the changes that I have made here by adding the show me user to be able to access this, that mapping has taken place, but I'm not going to see it under this link server because this link server is helping my primary to see what is on my content server. So if I want to see the changes that I have made, it's not going to be on this link server. It's going to be on the link server that my primary is using. So which is this link server. This is where, because this link server belongs to my content availability group. So if I refresh this, I will be expecting to see the adventure works that is mapped to that user. Yeah, so let's expand the catalog again. Yeah, the adventure work is here. So that makes sense. Okay, so that makes sense. The adventure work is here. So if I want another user to appear for, if I want adventure works to appear for the link server that is on my content availability group, I will have to go to my primary external to the content availability group and map, what is that user? The user that I use here is the show me now also. And the user I use here is here is what? Does it show me now as well? Okay, Bertie. Okay, that makes sense. For my external server, the user using making the connection, meaning that I will only be able to access all the databases that Bertie can access. So let's go and increase map Bertie to more databases. And when we do, we'll expect to see those more databases show up here apart from this. This is just by default because it's the master. So I hope you guys get it. So I come here and I go to the login, and I'll go to Bertie, right click. This is here, go to the properties, and I do user mapping. Right now, Bertie is on DB solution. I'm going to allow Bertie to be able to access, and I have to map it to a database that is physically available on the content availability group so that it will make sense. And is this one. So I'm going to add this, and I will say read, and I will say okay. So when I go to the content availability group, I expect to see that adventure work shows up here. So this is my, oh, sorry, not this guy. I expect to see, where's my content? This is my content, and this is the agent, okay? The listener. I'll refresh and expand the catalog. Yeah, there you go. So the Adventure Works 2022 can be seen. So many use case of content availability groups. So we've been able to see that, that as it relates to the master and all of that, I've already explained. I've also been able to demonstrate the login when you create. So let's create a job, for example, under content availability group. By design, whatever job we create at the content availability group, that job will not show up on the main primary external because that's not how it works. If it shows up, then the content availability group concept is defeated. So let's create a job under content availability group. So we come here to SQL Server Agent job. If you notice, okay, I've already shown this to us, that the agent the agent, what is it called? The agent feature only, you can, is only visible when you connect to your content availability group listener using your main connection, which is the connection with the sysadmin. So let's create a job on content availability group server. So we go here, we expand. I've already done it, but let me do one in front of you guys. So I think we've done that already inside content GB. Yeah, I think we've done that already in the previous example. I think we are done. Let me not do this. Yes, I think we've done this. So these are the example that I can show to us how you can use content availability group to get things done and move things around. Um, yeah, I don't know if there's anything that I'm missing. So I have demonstrated so many scenarios that is uh, with a proof to show how it works. Okay, I think we are good. So I'm gonna delete my link server, which is that is how the content AG link server name. I'm gonna delete that. Not really have to delete it. I mean, if I delete, yes, it's just gonna go out. That's also no big deal. So I think we are done. So this is it. This is the much we can take for now. I hope this helps.